Hello. I'd like to tell you about how a TMT influenced the flourishing of the internet. This talk will have 3 steps. What is human flourishing? Talking about the 3-phase mixed mode study that studied this TMT and consensus decision making, and 3 limits to the study. First, what is flourishing? Flourishing is abundant growth. In creation, there is this Greek word archeo in the Septuagint, which means to be overabundantly grow. And when did that used in Genesis? It was used when God said the seas and the land teemed with life, Genesis 1:20, or when the human beings were commanded to be fruitful and multiply, it uses the same verb. And the human beings had several things in that state. They were collaborated with God to name animals, they lived cohesively with others, and Adam needed to lead his family to stay cohesive. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. So God created the new creation, the church, founded on Jesus Christ, where there was abundant growth. Jesus says the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed that experiences abundant growth. And it uses the same verb in a past tense form. And what happened? It's grown from 100 to millions. What happened as far as the people? They collaborated, allowing free growth. The Christian leaders acted to increase collaboration, cohesiveness to God and other Christians when there were conflicts, as the council in Jerusalem described in Acts 15 shows. The internet had abundant growth. It started in academia. There was seed funding that funded networks, businesses, internet standards, and that reduced year after year from its beginning to nothing. But in that funding, NSF mandated certain things: collaboration and cohesive technology and organizations. So what did that do? It helped create the World Wide Web. It pushed for standards to have continual improvement in the internet. How does this look for us? Well, in 1980, you might have had satellites, you might have had a phone with maybe 2 kilobits of data if you were lucky, you might have had an Ethernet if you were lucky, but mostly you were on kilobits from a dial-up service. This grew and grew the networks to go to the hyperscale data centers, the cloud data mining, and Google searches of over 1 billion a day, and billions of websites. So what did the standards do? They're an action for change. These standards include the IEEE, the W3C, and the IETF, and they help keep things fresh, like the WebRTC. What is the mission of the IETF? Because we're going to focus on that, and one of the TMTs, the Internet Engineering Group, and as a TMT. So the IESG is one that helps focus to get the mission of the IETF accomplished, and that is to create relevant and technical and engineering documents that influence the way that people design, use, and manage the internet to make the internet work better. All decisions are made by rough consensus, and we find that in the organizational leadership is consensus decision making. Was it positive? Well, the growth created a variety. If you notice all the little lines, it shows the protocols that have been created. Some of them were short files, and some, like the things in green which create your networks, have been running for close to 40 years. And I manage one of those in the IETF. I manage that group for collaboration. Now, security started off a little small later because it really focused on first web security, host security, but after that it moved into the securing the rest of the net. And we're still growing. Now, how does a standard work? How do you actually write a standard and get it published? Well, originally there was 4 simple approaches: create a draft, do a working group, get it to agree to publish the draft, and then have a review. The ISG reviews it by sending it to all of the IETF to look at it, and then the ISG takes all that data, reviews it, and publishes it, sends it off the RFC editor to do final publishing. Just like you send it off, papers off to an editor to get final review. Now, the reality is different, though. And the RAS research group of the Internet Research Task Force is studying the process. And I'm just looking at one small piece. In reality, the handoff has a lot of individual draft, a lot of reviewer choices, a lot of review, and at the very end, the ISG consensus occurs. And where does this ISG occur? Well, they have a leader called the IETF chair, and they're the ISG, which in turn, they manage all these working groups in an area. So they're both followers and leaders, a unique position that many TMTs find. And so this top management team is funded, and the chair's pictures are below. Are all TMTs equal? Not really. The ISG over from 1989 to 2016 has picked up a variety of decisions and been successful. In this graph, you'll see the blue showing the actions, the decisions they tried, and ones with results. What does that mean? That means that of the ones they tried, they weren't effective. Because the number of decisions can vary based on what needs to happen per year. Notice that there's wide varying because the ISG adds and deletes members each year, and each of those groups are unique, and each of their leader is unique with them. So what happens if you looked at all the chairs from 1989 to 2016? There were 7 chairs. What is the average time for the yearly action versus results? Again, you'll see a little more even for the results, but a variety of actions. And so what happens? What percentage? Again, there is differences between the chairs. So we know that something happens in those groups. So I decided to, in my PhD, to study these things as collaboration, cohesive, and impact of conflict on the whole situation. Comes right out of the scripture from Acts. Now, if you look at them in the theories, you have collaborative reciprocal leadership by Allen. You have solidarity, a person who contributes more effort toward a group or toward a leader. A person has greater solidarity, or OCB, which is talking about that same discretionary. And conflict can be either task or relationship, and relationships are considered, conflict is considered bad form in a public arena, but sometimes it's underneath. There's been many rounds of research, but none of them have looked at the ISD as anything other than a fixed value. So let's look at what I actually took a look at. I looked at, in collaboration, if the increase of multiple person collaboration discussion increases the effectiveness of a consensus decision in a team consensus, meaning can we get to a result? I looked at the same thing in phase 2 with the survey to increase solidarity, but I ran into a problem that I'll pick up there, in that the results were not what I thought they were, because they weren't the organizational results. So I had to dig deeper. And the third thing, when I dug deeper, I decided to look at solidarity and then to see what impact conflict has. Now, in these three phases, as I've mentioned, there are three different theories. All of these are mixed mode. The first is exploratory, which is normal when you investigate a new thing, which took and coded themes uh, for collaboration and counted the number of decisions. The explanatory is the place I ran into trouble. I had a survey with Solidarity, OCV, TI, and self-reported effectiveness, and I found here I couldn't get accurate numbers of decisions or decisions with results, so I went to perceived decisions. Thirdly, I took a full 1991 to 2060 survey of ISG minutes and actually encoded the number of decisions in 10% and compared a second surveys, both the first and the second survey. And I did a hierarchical regression model, and it does suggest that solidarity is equal or some in cases slightly better. I did post-analyst interviews to find the problems with the first phase 1 and phase 2, and in the third I did a dissertation. Now let's look at the results. Here's why group collaboration seems to work. Notice that I had two different samples. I had the sample in 2012 where I did 5 meetings, which is about 20%, and I had a second sample for 3 years that I used for the 10%. Notice that in 2011, these samples are close. In 2003, these samples are close, but in 2006, these samples are widely differing. First problem, I needed more triangulation. Second problem, there seems to be some difference between in 2006, and notice the reduction in dualism in the 2003. So these said something else is happening. And the other thing that's unique is that these light blue, the dyadic or the one-on-one person arguing is in the bottom. The second is places where multiple people speak, but the light blue is where people were virtual in their discussion. So I went to a highly triangulated thing that triangulated 4 views of historical and these 2 surveys into a common thing. And I'll be glad to walk through this theory with you if you have any questions. What are the results? Are they reliable? Well, the tests on the survey and the previous results said that they were reliable surveys. And again, you can give me that. And the self effectiveness looked fairly reliable. What is the results? The results said that solidarity for cohesion predicts 62 to 72% of the results over 1989 or 1991 to 2016. That's when I coded the minutes with the same thing I did with the surveys. If I look to the 100% minutes, it's a little more varying for that. And the real issue is 2016 had some wildly exterior problems based on part of the IETF function being transferred to a global instead of a US government oversight. The survey means, again, suggested solidarity predicts 22 to 26% in 2013, which is a stronger survey, and only in 2017, a smaller response, only survey, it predicted 51 to 58. So I'm a little bit concerned about that particular perceiving. So where are we? The Quantity of quality data matters. Triangulation is critical, and solidarity appeals to be better than say. But I'm still in mountains of data, and keep your eye on this and my website to see if you want some other data, because my goal is to make the ISG more effective so the IETF can work better, so the internet can contribute abundant growth, so human beings can flourish. Thank you very much.